Welcome to another exciting episode of the Splitfire Gaming Podcast. We've got 2 episodes out in under a month, which is a breakneck speed that we probably can't sustain for the rest of the year, but never mind. This time it's Derby Deathmatch preview, and this time we will hope to do the actual review of the event rather than just a preview, which we did for Cardiff, but we'll not talk about that.
Technical issues, though. Technical issues, conveyance and solicitor issues, any other excuse you want. So we will. There's a 53% chance we'll actually do the follow-up episode of this. But Scott's back. Yeah, hello.
When I say back, I mean he never really leaves.
Actually get rid of us now.
No. It's I think of elevating you to co-host, but then that would damage my ego, so you're still just a guest.
Just a guest, a guest that you struggle to get rid of.
Well, you know, you send the message out, can you do this episode in 3 days? And you usually go, yeah. So what? There's no real need to broaden the horizons any. Just stick with what works.
Yeah.
But before we go into Derby, I've been guesting on at least 2 other channels when this goes out. Yeah. So what's it? Influencer status, that.
You're just a massive deal.
I mean, yes, of course. I mean, one, I asked to go on, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah, well, they were prompting you because they know. Well,
yeah, I'll not spoil what happened when I went on, because I went on a Bunker Gaming. Basically to steal his setup and find out how he does it, so we can do it when I eventually get the ability to take battle reports.
I think my gaming room's ready to go. I think we just need a bit of lighting.
Yeah, I stole some good ideas, or
cool.
Was inspired by, depending on what you interpret that as, when I was down there, of how to do it so that there's no massive shadows on the board. So you heard it here first. Coming June 2026, we might get around to doing a battle report, but we may not, so don't hold me to that. And also, Simon off D6 Wounds invited me on, which it might have gone out by now, it might not. It was supposed to be reminiscing about Triple Crown's the real GT, because he went to the real one with us, not the practice event.
Yeah.
But it's sort of not descended, but it did turn into a much broader, wider conversation about Warhammer in general. And it turns out that sometimes I just can't shut up. So I really enjoyed being let, no pressure, didn't have to think about what the topic would be, didn't have to try and keep prompting myself to talk to the guests. I just asked questions and answered them. So it was quite nice, actually.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, nothing I like just ranting on about more than Warhammer, whether it be weird rules, army building, or lore.
Well,
it's probably why I was sad when you said, "Can you found us with someone who can just drop everything at the drop of a hat to record?" Like, here I am.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Warhammer, you say? I'm in.
Well, I'd just done a 12-hour shift at work, and I had about an hour to, have a cup of tea, and then I was still talking at 3 hours in. So I don't know how he's going to edit it. And he was saying, it's probably time to end it now. I'm like, well, I've still got more to say on High Elves and why I think 8th edition is the best. So
of course you still had more to say on High Elves.
Yeah, he's got plenty of material. I don't know how much he wants to cut out, but
everything about High Elves, he's just going to leave the little bit that you mentioned.
It's going to be about a 1-minute show if he cuts out everything I've said about High Elves. So good luck with that. But he's asked if he can. Well, he's asked if he can come on this channel, so I think we'll sort something out to bring Simon up.
Absolutely. Is he at Derby?
He is, yeah. So maybe we could rope him into a review of Derby.
As long as you don't bully him with your sea helm this time.
That did come up. I didn't have to be reminded this time. Yeah, it's just nice to have some intra-channel mixing, because
we're only all talking about a hobby that we all love in a game that isn't even supported anymore. So,
yeah, for a lot of
crowd.
Yeah, it's a dead game from 10 years ago that we still can talk for hours about. But anyway, you've done a guest on another channel, haven't you? I found that out. You didn't tell me. I had to find it out separately.
Did I?
Didn't you? Maybe I'm making that up.
I think you're making it up.
Maybe it was somebody else.
Steve's guessing on the other one, or you're just confusing us?
Oh, possibly.
Glasses, facial hair, practically the same person.
I made some very flattering or not comparisons between us three and other fictional characters on Simon's thing, but you'll have to watch it to find out. I'm not going to spoil it.
I will watch it. I do watch all Simon's videos when he puts them up.
But anyway, that have you had anything exciting happen in your hobby world before we get into the main event?
No, to be honest, in preparation for Derby, I'm starting once I'd finally decided what army and list to take. There's a lot of basin work to do to get the matching, because I sense you got the two slightly different themes within the army, and I'm trying to get them to align. Yeah. So rookie mistake, really building the list and not considering that.
You got time, haven't you? You got a week.
Yeah, and I'd love to say I've been really hard at it, but truth be told, that's a lie. And I've not been anywhere near as productive when it comes to basin as I absolutely should have been.
It's definitely nice to be able to just pick anything off the shelf and not have to worry about, I need to finish that off or I need to base it.
Yeah.
Oh well. But yeah, because we'll come on to that, but your big news is the Year of the Tomb Kings has ended.
Yeah, it has.
We'll get on to that. So Derby Deathmatch, it's the second one they've ran of these, isn't it? Triple Crown again.
Yes.
They ran it last year, and I think it came out of the 2021's Triple Crown GT, which was held at Boards and Swords in Derby. And because they got on really well with the venue, they decided to keep putting on something at that venue. So it's a bit different. It's not the 20-0 scoring system. So we'll just go through a bit of the comp and then we'll go into our lists. That probably makes logical sense. So it's not 20-0, it's win-loss-draw.
Yeah, that's the real big sort of slant change, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'll put the comp on screen actually. So there we go. So it's 5 games, and it's 5 tournament points for a win, 3 for a draw, and 1 for a loss. And they're 5 out of the main rule book. So you don't get
Watchtower. Off you go.
Nobody likes Watchtower.
Nobody wants Watchtower.
Well, if you...
No. Okay. Just no. No Watchtower.
I've heard the argument if you plan for it and agree beforehand you're playing it. Nah.
Nonsense. Replace it with a hill and I'm half interested.
Yeah, Watch Hill's pretty good. But yeah, so it's Battle Line, Dawn Attack, Battle for the Pass, Blood and Glory, which is slightly... Well, it is the same in that if you break the other side, you win the game, but you keep playing because victory
a very
points...
niche position that could lead to someone who wins losing the event.
We were just talking about this before we started. If the victory points only come in if you're tied, so you could, in theory, be tied with somebody and continue and lose Blood and Glory if they lose as well. But if you then go on to win a load more tournament victory points, that'll push you up the rankings. So it's a bit interesting, that interaction.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably never going to happen. It's very niche.
Yeah.
So, because obviously winning the tournament essentially just comes down to the number of tournament points. So maximum of 25 tournament points, assuming that you've submitted your list on time.
Yeah, it could be.
With a minimum of 5, assuming someone loses every game. And the winner, theoretically, is the person who gets 5 wins. But if there happens to be a draw, tiebreakers are then comes down to sportsmanship points, painting points, and then victory points scored.
Yeah, there it is there. So it's a bit... I don't want to say it's not competitively aimed at, but they've rated sportsmanship and painting above pure victory points. So it's a different ethos slightly to the GT, which is fair enough because it's a completely different event.
Yeah, I use that because obviously the GT, the modelling and the painting aspect is well, obviously it's one of the three sort of crowns of Triple Crown, so to speak. I think it's really important, and it's still important for Derby. But you're right; it's much more about who wins the games.
Yeah,
and preferably in a nice way.
Yeah, well, maybe not. We'll see. But the we went. You went to West last year, didn't you?
Yeah, I took the zombie horde last year.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad we're not seeing. Well, we might be seeing that again. That was unique. But I like the format in that you don't know which one's coming first. They roll off on the day to find out which game out of the book you're going to play. Which is how you do it when you just play casually. You just roll for the scenario.
I do like it. You just don't know what's coming next, and all of a sudden it lands, and you're like, oh, bollocks.
Oh, it's this one. I'm facing the Dwarf gun line, and it's Battle for the Pass. Fantastic.
Yeah. Funny enough, my one test game was against a Chaos Dwarf, but Chaos Dwarf gun line on Battle for the Pass. And I was like, well, I suppose it's as good a practice as any.
Let's see what makes it to the short board edge. But yeah, that's the slightly different way they do it. I like it just as not like a palate cleanser. That's a bit.
I like it because it's a change. I think you're right. It's no less competitive and it's no less sort of.
It's just different because the Triple Crown comp has been so dominant over pretty much every tournament. Uses it in some way or the other. It's just something a bit different from them. It still uses their comp for pluses and minuses, but the way you get the victory points, that's a different way to do it.
That and the fact that you're locked into maximum -2, maximum +2 lists as well.
Yeah, so it's all in that bracket, that plus and -2 bracket. So there's not going to be like massive disparities in army power levels, or there shouldn't be, as much as you can account for it. And the comp points aren't added or subtracted at the end.
Definitely not a mistake that we made last year. Definitely not.
Which is information that I gathered in the car home after the events, looking at the results.
We all discovered it on.
Hang on, I should be on 2 more points here. They haven't given us me comp. Yeah, they don't actually give you the comp points.
Reading a pack, evidently a chumps game.
Reading the pack, playing the mission. Don't waste the time. Don't bother doing it.
This is the event where we first coined Mark actually play the mission.
Yes, I think. Or was it the?
Was it?
No, it might have been the narrative, because I thought
it was before the narrative, and then you went to the narrative and really also did not play the mission.
I think the narrative was where I decided I would have to tattoo it on my arm before I played anymore. But yeah, that's. I like Derby Deathmatch, and I haven't because it's still new. I haven't quite got my head around it, and I like that kind of I'm working it out kind of experience.
Yeah, I suppose for yourself, who for the last 3 Triple Crowns taking give or take the same list. Like this is not to belittle it, but a palate cleanser and a different. Prompts you to take a different list, though, doesn't it?
Well, the concept, as you'll see, the core concepts are similar, but there are some differences, which I'm quite excited to see how it does, actually.
Good.
So shall we go on to lists? And you might as well break your vow of Tomb King, Year of the Tomb Kings.
The Tomb.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can do. So, I know I was committed to playing all this year, I think a full calendar year of events with Tomb Kings, but after the last PC, I'd realised it'd been 5 tournaments in a row that I'd taken me Tomb Kings to, and I felt like I was just a bit ready for a little break from them. Because I play a very, very similar list most of the time, and I don't have the volume of Tomb Kings that I do with my other armies to chop and change it particularly. So as we were chatting on the way back up from Triple Crown, and I've not differed massively, but I've gone back to vampire counts.
Your first love. There they
are. There they are. It's a bit of a different list for me. I mean, to a point. It's not the. It's a bit of a bastardization of the two different lists that I run I used to run on a regular basis with VC, which is bits from the zombie horde, although not a lot from the zombie horde. Although that was hilarious, but not quite the. Sorry,
it wasn't to play.
No, it was. It was a lot of time spent taking zombies on and off the board, and not being able to catch anything.
Going into that massive horde of 100 or whatever zombies with the Phoenix Guard horde, killing nearly everything, and then it was all back in a turn. Well, that was a giant waste of time.
Well, I mean, having to carry around about 500 zombies with us, though, it's like a lot of zombies to carry around. So this list to start with only has 100 zombies in.
Only
100 zombies.
Trim that down.
Yeah, it's if anything, people might say not a lot of zombies. To be honest,
insufficient
zombies to start with. So core, I've gone for a block of 40 skeletons, full command. Then followed by that, there's 2 blocks of 40 zombies with standard bearer and musician, and then just a little block of 20 zombies with a standard bearer. So that's, I mean, for the purposes of Blood and Glory, that's essentially all of me banners.
Mm-hmm.
And then the core's rounded up by 2 units of 5 direwolves.
Brutal.
Little poodles.
Slavering charge, don't forget that.
Absolutely, it's that strength. I mean, they're normally dead before the strength 4 comes to account, but the effort's there, and that's what really matters.
I forget there, strength 4.
Yeah, it's the thought, it's the effort that counts. I've then gone for 2 units of 5 hex wraiths. Hummed and hard with this one, whether to go for a bigger unit and just go with 1 unit, or whether, I mean, I did debate whether I should go with 3 units for a little while, and then I decided not. A unit of bat swarms and a single spirit host, and then rare goes to exactly 625 on the money, and it's my favourite rare combination for the most part for VC, which is double Terrorgeist and then a Vargluff. It's a 625 on the nose. It's a set of combo. It's a set of rare options that I just really like. I love the Vargluff. It just gives you some flexibility because it's vampiric. It can just operate so independently, and it's quick and reliable.
Hasn't it got Thunderstomp?
Yeah, it's a monster. So it's sort of movement 8, weapon skill, I think it's 5. It might only be 4, but it's strength toughness 5, 5 attacks, vampiric, like I say, so it can march independently. It doesn't have any flanks or rears for like a Beast of Nurgle, essentially for charges. It's got 4 regen, and it's got hatred. So, like, I actually think he's a really solid option.
It's really, he's strong, tough, and got regen, and
he's decent.
Yeah,
like he's for 175 points. I think he's a decent monster. He's correctly costed.
He's some really good hard chaff as well, isn't he? Because he can wreck chaff. And then he can block something a bit stronger.
Yeah, he's just got a variety of uses. I just like him.
I like your model for him as well, like the wolf. Or the werewolf.
Yeah, I've got 3 different. I've got 3 Vargulfs, 2 proper GW models, but I'm with you. I do prefer this one. He's just cool.
I think as well what you're saying about the what they're called, ghostly horsemen. Why can't I remember that name? X-rays. That's it. It's been a long day. 2 is, I'd say, better than 1 because when you're facing it, it's 2 ethereal things that can go anywhere that you've got to deal with.
Yeah, and that was what sort of decided for us, to be honest. Like, there's 2 of them. There's 2 direwolves, but just sort of chaff. There's 2 Terrorgeists, because like you say, if 1's good, 2's better.
Yeah, that's the old Phoenix thing there.
Exactly. And then just finishing characters, I've got a Tomb Banshee, which I've never actually taken to an event before. So I thought, well, why the hell not? A level 2 Necromancer, a level 4 Necromancer on the Law of Death, because I don't like to leave home without the Law of Death. Unless I can take Shadow, which I also quite like. And then finish off with a General who is a Ghoul King, because I do love a Strigoi.
Yeah, it's going back to the classics, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I do love a Ghoul King. So there's like 14 drops, including characters in the army. A lot of chaff. Well, I mean, essentially the whole army's give or take chaff, isn't it? Except for a couple of things. That's the vampire I can't wait. Yeah, like everything on that board other than the general's life is expendable. Yeah, I like it. I'm happy with the list. It's not quite the crazy Scream list that I often run, and it doesn't have Manfred, but it does have Screams. It does have Death Magic, so it has a lot of the things I just like using with VC, which is the important part.
Are you feeling not relieved, but like enthusiastic to go back to the vampire counts after?
Yeah, looking forward to using them, to be honest, because like I say, it's been over a year since I've used them. Weirdly, I think from an event point of view, I think the last time I actually used them was the Zombie Horde list at Derby last year.
So they've had a suitable rest since.
Yeah, they've had a full year off, so time for them to pull their finger out and get back involved.
Layer of dust on them. But like all this, were you thinking of the potential War Machine big monster meta that may or may not be coming up?
I mean, partially. Like, I do expect the little sudden burst we've had in sort of MA or Storm of Magic monsters being seen to have the inevitable outcome, which is we see more guns, which we don't want to see, but I think it is give or take inevitable. Or you'll start to see a real blend in the meta between monsters are still there, but people are starting to bring guns until eventually guns overtake monsters, and then people don't take monsters, and then eventually people stop taking guns, and then monsters start sneaking back in.
Yeah. Because there's already plenty in here that Spirit Leech can tie up a non-magical monster for the entire game. Sorry, Spirit Host can tie up a non-magical monster for ever.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I've got 3 ethereal units and ethereal character, and I've got fast things that can deal with sort of. If I need to get into a gun line, I can with a bit of luck, without completely neutering the army. But I mean, gun lines will not be ideal, to be honest, because those poor Terrorgeists.
Yeah, there's 2 massive targets on them.
Yeah, I mean, look at the size of their base as well. Like, nothing ever misses them. They just get hit all of the time.
10 from the back, though, somewhere in that direction.
6 wounds means you've either normally got to use 2 War Machines at them or get very lucky. And if you don't kill them, I've then got an opportunity to start healing them back up.
Yeah, that's especially with 2 casters. That's quite a lot of opportunities to get them wounds back.
Yeah. But there's a lot of fast things relatively in there, a lot of maneuverable things, and then just blocks of troops. Although none of them are huge, but like 3 slabs of 40, plus then on what you res on top is a decent chunk of core to have to grind through.
It's the thing about VC, you don't have to pay for anything to bring more zombies back than you started with.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, it does kind of give up points easier than what I might have thought for Derby and some of the other lists I was looking at. But I think it can take points as well. Excuse me. So it has that fine balance, I think. But it's the type of list with VC that I like to use. So it's guaranteed that I'll have a good, enjoyable weekend. regardless of the outcomes of the games, which I think is also important.
Yeah, that's
the main thing, isn't it? Really.
Well, 20% maybe. Winning, of course, is the other 80. Oh, very good. Well, shall I describe my list, which is slightly different, but not really. Not really. So it's high elves. You'll be shocked, but you'll notice these things on 4 legs are. I've included cavalry.
Oh my god!
And
horses.
Not just reavers. So this is. There's quite a lot of bolt throwers there as well.
That is a lot of bolt. That is a lot of bolt throwers.
Yeah, well, if you're gonna, there's no point going half measures.
If one's good, 2's better. 4's clearly the way forward.
Well, they never hit anything as 2, so presumably they can hit slightly more as 4. But
that's a fair point.
This is a prince, not on a star dragon. This time he's had to leave the star dragon at home. He's come on a Ithamar barded steed. We haven't gone into magic items, have we?
We hadn't, but I mean, I can go back for what I've taken, to be honest, if you like.
Well, I don't know when we'll release this, so no, we'll leave it as it is. Just he's got some quite nice magic items that I've spent all his magic item in that allowance, basically.
Oh, tasty.
Yeah. And then I've got an Archmage on the Lower Shadow, because I know I slagged off the Lower Shadow from Cardiff as being too expensive and you can't cast anything. It's had quite a bit of a redemption recently when I've been playing it.
I did say, I just think Shadow is such a good lore. Arguably one of the best to have on a level 4, but it synergizes so well with the helps.
Yeah. There is only one thing I think I don't want to roll, which is Pendulum. Because everything else is brilliant. Or I can trade it. I can trade Steed of Shadows out for the signature. So that's if I don't want to roll Steed of Shadows and Pendulum. Anything else, any combination, I'm happy with. But I'll not tell you what the Archmage has got, because you can work it out.
Doesn't the Archmage come with only 2 set options?
Yeah.
Which is the book and a shiny talisman.
I can't comment on what he's got because it's closed lists. However, you can probably work it out from previous experience. The Sea Helm is back because I think they're fantastic. He's my BSB. And in core, I've got 20 archers, 5 Illyrian Reavers, and 14 Silver Helms with full command. I've not used the Silver Helms properly in, I think, about 3 years when I was testing.
I don't think I've ever really seen you run a night bus.
No, and I've used them before, and I've only included 9, and that's not enough.
No, I think you're right to go 3 ranks. You need to have the capacity to take some damage.
Yeah, you need mass. And I think that's where I was going wrong using them before, just trying to cheap out on the unit. You either use them as a 5, as hard chaff, or you go proper with a proper night bus. So I'm quite excited to try this a bit more, because I do like the Silver Helms. The reasonably
plus I suppose on the charge, if they're not, none of them are dead. It's 15 strength, 5 attacks with ASF as well, though, isn't it?
And they've got 2 up armor, which I know it's not as good as the Empire, but nothing is really.
It's not to be sniffed at.
No, they still get ASF. They're still high initiative, and the Ithamar barded steeds mean they're always moving at movement 9. They don't suffer anything for Barden, so they're really fast. And they're a good Prince delivery system. so there's that as well. Going back to the standards, Phoenix Guard, because I keep going backwards and forwards between whether I like Phoenix Guard or White Lions the most.
I do love Phoenix Guard, to be fair. They're just so reliable.
Especially in tandem with Shadow.
With Shadow, and in like a comp like Derby, they just don't die.
Yeah, they are extremely resilient. I was trying to work out, could I fit in there's an item which gives you Soul Quench, which would improve their ward save by 1, but
you're now wasting dice trying to cast that just to boost a ward save, which may not help in the long run. So 4 up will do. I think they'll be fine.
Is that all?
Yeah,
just a 4 up ward.
Heavy armor and 4 up ward. Yeah. Then I've got 2 for rare. I've got 2 Great Eagles because they are some very good chaff, and 4, count them, Eagle Claw bolt throwers. So
it's a lot of bolt throwers.
It is, but it's not very many Phoenixes. So it's either one or the other.
Yeah, no, you're right. No Phoenixes, no sisters.
No
sisters. It's a very completely different list for me, really, isn't it?
Cavalry, a prince. So the general isn't an archmage. I've got leadership 10 in here. So if you try to spirit leech anyone, it's got some resilience against that. The bolt throwers, that is quite a lot of bolt throwers, but tough. I'm just going to try it.
No, I think, to be honest, I kind of think if you're going to take bolt throwers, you just take them.
Because initially I had 3. Well, if you're taking 3, you might as well take 4.
I think once you go above, if you're going to take more than 2, you want to take as many as you can fit in. You want to take the 4 because they're not as reliable as a cannon.
No,
as outrageous as that is,
they're not as strong. They're not as. It's easy to fluff the 1 to hit or roll 1 to wound, and if you get through all that, then how many D3 wounds have you done? 1. Brilliant.
Yeah. The other thing though, what they are is they can be as effective anti-chaff as well, as you wouldn't waste a cannon on chaff, for example.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't want it as a stone thrower, but they could well help you clear chaff at the rate that you want to clear them.
That was the thought. So it's either the option of just blast the chaff with armor piercing strength 4 shots, or if you do want to try the single bolt, which is usually a bad idea, but you've got it there. If you can get it, deletes armor saves. So there's situations where it's going to be quite useful. But for them, you've got you can start mixing and matching. Depending on what I'm actually facing. But it's, how many shots is it? So 6, 12, so it's 24 shots potentially, strength 4, -2 armor piercing, which is it's probably on par with what the unit of sisters would be generating. However,
better range.
Yeah, longer range, lower ballistic skill. But so it's probably averages out that it's probably as effective as that unit, but you can target multiple things because
that was exactly what I was just going to say. Like the fact that you can spread that fire rate across the board makes it better.
Yeah. Because I was at -1 because I had the Shadow Warriors. You notice the Shadow Warriors aren't here.
I did notice the Shadow Warriors are gone.
They're having a break, having been used in every tournament since 2001 that I've ever been to. So they're having a day off. So they were +1, and then because every bolt throw you take past 2 is -1, it evened its way out. So I think I went from 0 to -2, but whatever. This is a
-2. It's the Derby sweet spot that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to people who do anything above -2.
You mean us last time? Our +2 lists.
Well, last time I took Swordmasters, and then halfway through game 1, why have you brought Swordmasters? They just die.
They do just die, don't they?
Might as well just shame. Might as well just handed the opponent a big 300 points at the start of the game. I've tested this or a very similar list to this once, and I've really quite enjoyed it because I just threw this together because I don't know about you, I was almost at the point of having a breakdown about what list to write. Because is it going to be monsters? When you overthink it, is it going to be monsters? Is it going to be cannons? Well, I need to get points, but I need to preserve points. Just write the fucking list, you idiots.
I know. Mine was similar, but my biggest conundrum was what race to take. Was it stick with Tomb Kings? Was it to go back to VC? Or was it to go back to Chaos Dwarfs? And then for a little while, I even thought about taking Empire. I said, no. I don't want to take Empire. Why? What? Where did that even come from?
Did you have a list you had in mind prior to this, or were you pretty much set on it?
This list. No, there was no. God, no. There was a list with a Ghoul King on a Terrorgeist, which is me standard, I suppose. There was a list with Manfred in there. There was a Black Knight bus list.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Which I've never actually I've ran once before. I mean, for a very, 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 very brief moment, I nearly thought about doing Blood Knights, and then really changed my mind when I was like, "No, it's Derby, you lunatic! They'll die really quickly and just give away like I would 1,000 points."
Yeah, all of these bolt throwers would just be firing everything into that unit until weight and numbers worked it
out. Yeah. So I did chop and change a few times. Once I'd finally decided, I mean, it took. There was those lists while that was going on. Then I was amending Tomb King lists. Then I was like, oh, if I jazz it up a little bit and take Arcan, it's a different list. So,
this one started as a White Lion Horde with an Anointed and a High Mage and Arcane Phoenix that I got, but it was quite like labor intensive to play it with all the, and then as I was learning that the Phoenix rules, which I thought existed, didn't, and I'm not using a tournament to learn how to use the Arcane Phoenix. That's probably not the best idea, so we'll drop that idea and we'll go with something a bit more that you know how it works, and then I can bring the Phoenix at another one when I've had a few practice runs.
Well, I was going to say you can just bring that Arcane Phoenix out for some practice games and some
I'll have
games,
to learn,
can't we?
Because as if you go to Bunker Gaming, because spoilers, I took the Arcane Phoenix to one of the games, and it's very obvious through the clips. I'm sure he'll have left it in that I have no idea what the rules are. So I'm reading the rules on live on camera. It doesn't have a ward save. Right?
Oh, who knew?
Who knew that? I wouldn't have put it there if I knew it didn't have a ward save.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's an event's not probably the right time to take.
No,
and something that you're not 100% confident with how it works.
But I'm interested to see what the Prince does, because the idea behind the Prince is if it is monster meta, he should be able to damage a big monster, at least a bit, and then maybe his mates can help, or he's tooled up to the max. So.
But you've spent 100 points on magic items, so he's clearly got some toys.
It's just a bit different. Like, my characters are usually the mages or their supports. Like the Sea Helm, I don't expect him to fight anything. He's just
it's a real change for you actually having a combat character, isn't it?
Yeah, I generally don't take them, but I love taking in more casual games the Prince on Star Dragon, and I like the High Elf Princes because they don't get used enough. Because the Archmage is the obvious choice. It's just just take a Prince, see what he does. Point him at something and charge it, and he should be able to kill it, probably.
Yeah, point and go. Yeah. He's going first regardless, isn't he?
He's going first, and hopefully I've given him enough gear to see him through the
make it matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll see how it does.
I'm looking forward to Derby, though. Last year's was good fun. Like, Boards and Swords is a nice venue. Like, the guys were incredible last year in that outrageous heat that we had.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it's anything like it was last year.
My two big hopes for this year with Derby: one, it's not as hot. Two, I'm not as ill.
The illness was self-inflicted, though.
Or was it a side effect of the heat?
No, it wasn't. No, it was a side effect of Pop World at 3 a.m.
It's Stan's fault.
Yeah,
he's an animal.
He took the blame for that. Although I wasn't affected, I don't know what was wrong with you two. It's to be a dodgy pint.
That's exactly. Clearly, we were spiked.
Clearly, yeah. I'm taking offence at that. They didn't think I was worth spiking. That's the list. So I think we'll end on some rampant speculation on what might come up at Derby and what might the most popular armies be.
We live for rampant speculation, don't we?
That's the best thing, isn't it?
I think we're going to see a lot of Warriors of Chaos. I think we're going to see a lot of VC, to be honest. I think they have the tools to do well in that environment. I think you'll also see a lot of high elves, because you just do see a lot of high elves.
Well, they've been on the decline. Like, there was only 3, I think, at the GT, and at one of them, I was the only one. I was the only high elf.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my, for what it's worth, they're my rampant speculation for 3 most prevalent lists.
I agree with VC and Warriors, because they're always popular, especially on this, because Warriors, you can get like a really strong, compact list, can't you, with relatively few drops. So you're going to you get the +1.
Yeah, you can get a nice, quite a tasty Warriors list in this bracket.
Yeah, you've got options like Chimerias with regen, so they're going to, they're quite defensible, but they're also really good at flaming things and not dying. Don't like them. I think you're right about VC as well, because they're easy to heal back up.
Yeah, they do have the tools to theoretically do well in the meta.
Yeah,
in the Derby setup, to be honest.
Yeah, they've got enough not regen, but recovering power, and they've got quite a lot of very strong stuff that they can be using. But like we were saying before, I think it's going to be something like Dwarfs or even Empire. You might see a resurgence.
I actually think in just a flat win-lose draw scenario, I think a good strong Dwarf list that's not particularly different or jazzy without sounding sort of demeaning. I think a good strong Dwarf list could do very well in the environment, to be honest. I also think a well played avoidance wood elf or dark elf list could do very, very well also in the environment.
They're always a joy to play.
Nobody enjoys playing them. The people who play them don't enjoy playing them. They just hate themselves and everybody else. Don't like you, Chris. You know who you are.
Didn't he say the most enjoyable game against another avoidance wood elf list where they were essentially just measuring 15.1 inches away from each other all the time?
Yeah. But I do think like a good solid dwarf list, maybe it's Empire, or an avoidance style list might take the Derby crown.
I think especially since the Empire won the GT, it may have switched. I don't know if there's enough time in between the events, but it may have switched people on to like, actually the Empire are really, they've got tools to deal with quite a lot.
Empire have lots of good tools for almost everything. It's just that their standard troops are crap.
They are, but you've got your
their lives are cheap though.
Yeah, you got 40 or 50 of them, and plus a life mage and a tank, and like, you're talking about stuff that you can get quite a nice, even a positive list Empire army, which is still quite strong.
Yeah,
when you start mixing in monsters and things, I don't know. I've just got I might be completely wrong, but I've just got to.
Well, that's the point of rampant speculation, Mark, isn't it?
That'll be Beastmen, Chaos Dwarfs, and
to be fair, Chaos Dwarfs
will be the top 3.
Chaos Dwarfs could do well in a win-loss draw environment as well, though.
Weren't we on the tail end of the massive Chaos Dwarf invasion last year, where Chaos Dwarfs went from nobody played them?
In one event. I mean, I took them, Andy took them, Steve took them. Someone who didn't know also took. There was like 4 Chaos Dwarfs at one event.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's because I played Chaos Dwarfs at Derby last year.
Andy took them last year as well, so I think it was 2 Chaos Dwarfs last year. There's at least 1 this year, I think. No, don't get wrong. It's when it's win-loss draw every. And when it's in a plus or minus 2 sort of bracket, every army's got the capacity to do well. I do just have a gut feeling it'll be a really strong avoidance list or a sort of a dwarf Empire-esque gun line. They're me 2 sort of punts without having any idea what anybody's actually taken.
It's actually skirmisher. That's the meta. That's completely wrong. Everyone's taking skirmishers.
I think we get the the draw, I think.
Yeah, it'd be quite soon. I don't know if they're publishing army lists though.
No, I think you're gonna get a draw with who they are playing and what army they are.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah, it's usually that, isn't it?
I think it's normally a week out, isn't it? So we should hopefully have it. Look this weekend.
I've no idea what the spread of comps will be. I don't know whether everyone will have gone for -2, which seems the logical thing to do, but people do what they want, really.
To be honest, if I was taking me Tomb Kings, the list I'd settled on was only a -1, because I just couldn't jig things around to get it differently. It may have even been a 0.
Yeah, it's not actually difficult to get a minus list as a high elf, even if you're not taking a L'Oreal in the banner. We'll see
if any of those random speculation is like when we do our summary event.
Yeah, probably we got everything wrong. There was no
Empire. Totally wrong.
There was no VC. There was no Warriors.
Yeah, it was won by I don't know, something insane that was not mentioned.
The WAP Cathay book. That's it.
Aye.
WAP no longer with us, of course.
Yeah, good.
Wow.
I was only stop going. Yeah, you should play WAP. Shut up.
I went as far as saying I don't care. You're actually glad that it's gone.
I didn't mean it like that. I'm glad people enjoy it.
Yeah, don't take it away from people. But it had no interest for me whatsoever.
Yeah, that's the point. Actually, I had no interest in it. I'd rather just play the 8th edition.
Yeah, that's true. You could give me any game, not just WAP. You can get me any game.
Yeah, I said it quite sort of flippantly there, but I'd just rather play Warhammer.
Stick to your. Don't roll it back. You've said it now.
Oh yeah, and I've said to anyone who's offered to play. Do you want to play this? No, I don't. I want to play 8th. That's the same. No, it's not. Get out. Get out of here. Take your stupid made-up rules with you.
Too soon. I'm gonna get some hate comments now.
Yeah. Sorry, nobody. Stop having that guy on. He's just an arsehole. That's right, people.
I'm still not cutting it out. Well, I think that's pretty much everything covered. So there's not, because it's the comp is very straightforward, and our lists we can't go through everyone's list because they don't publish them, like we did for Cardiff. It's quite a short and to the point episode.
No, I think we'll see how it fares up when we do our review.
Yeah, see if Simon wants to come on for that. If not, we'll still do it.
People have to just put up with us again.
Yeah, just have to put up with the standard ramblings of us. Right then, so we'll see when we come back and one or both of us have finished in the top 2. You heard it here first. But until then, thanks very much. We'll see you later.
See ya.